Hello and welcome to the Kristin Carrera podcast. I am Kristin. Welcome back if you've been following along. And if you are new, make sure to hit that subscribe button, follow along, and comment. I'd love to hear where you are on your health journey. Have you tried the carnivore diet? Have you been on the carnivore diet? What has it helped you with? What has it not helped you with? Right? This journey, I created this podcast to talk about my journey, to talk about my healing through nutrition and all of the issues that I've had throughout all these years. And nothing but the carnivore has truly helped me. And I have shared the good, the bad, the ugly, all the in betweens, because I am a very honest and open person here. I have read to you my journals. I have gone through days of the Lion Diet Challenge that I did in October, where it just did not work for me. And I was very honest about that. So if you are here for just honesty and a real person who is not a doctor or a nutritionist and just wanting to see how I feel on my journey, giving you little tidbits of tips that I've learned along the way, things that I've learned, things that I'm still learning, things that I'm educating myself on, as well as trying to just open that door for you and get you out of that box that you may have been stuck in, that we've all been stuck in for so many years, of learning that the food pyramid is one way when in fact it's really another. So welcome. And today we're talking about something that we all experience. Everybody more than likely experiences this at one point in their life. If you have ever been on a diet or you're changing your nutrition, whether it's for health or whether it's to lose weight, we have all gone through this, and it's called slip ups. So let's dive in. Whether you are strictly carnivore, animal based, or somewhere in between, life happens. So what should you do if you find yourself eating something off quote unquote plan? Let's get into that. Why do slip ups happen? Well, either you're having a social situation, which sometimes can be hard if you're going out and there are all these people eating all the stuff that you cannot eat, especially if you are on carnivore, cravings, or just convenience. So for me, I will say this. I will say that there has not been a time where I have slipped up by accident. Let me explain. I do not think that we slip up by accident. You are an adult. Your brain is at full capacity of knowing what you can and cannot eat. You are in control of your own life. You are in control of your body. Now, there are moments of weakness that we as a human have, and that is normal. We all have a moment of weakness, and I don't think that it is by accident that we quote unquote slip up, but I do think that we know what we're doing when we do it. We know that there may or may not be consequences of eating something that may or may not make you feel good or bad. So for me, I know that I have had where I went out for my anniversary last year, and or this year, this year, back in March. And I decided that I was going to have a glass of whiskey. And I decided that during our dinner, I was not going to nitpick that there was a few tomatoes on my plate. I decided that. Now, I could have also decided to have dessert, but I didn't. I have decided that coffee, especially after doing 30 days of Lion Diet, I do not see a difference whether I remove it from my diet or whether I have it. I have decided that I can add a little bit of erythritol in my coffee for sweetness, and that it works for me and that I'm okay with it. I have decided that there was my kid's birthday and I hadn't had any type of dessert for over 6 months, and that I was going to have a very thinly sliced piece of absolutely delicious cake, and I enjoyed it. And then I decided that the next day I was going to have another piece. And then my body showed me that one piece may have been enough. Two pieces back to back was going to make me feel crappy. And so I know sometimes, is it worth it? Yes or no, right? And that is something that you are going to have to find out on your journey, on your slip ups. I think that learning how our body reacts, whether it's bloating, fatigue, inflammation. In my case, I've had triggers of anxiety. I've had the inflammation in my hands. These are things that I've noticed when I've slipped up, right? Or I don't even like to call it slip up, because a slip up feels to me like it was an accident, right? Like we were talking about. But now that I'm talking out loud, I may be looking at that wrong. And if I look at it as a person who has an addictive personality, and you say I slipped up, I've been sober for 2 months and I had a slip up. I do understand. I do understand that it's not necessarily that you did it on purpose. Yes, you know what you were doing. You know that where it might lead you. But sometimes I do believe that especially people with addiction do not have full control of saying no. Those temptations are very hard, which is why we try to remove ourselves from situational events or just things that happen in our lives that will lead us to that point of our quote unquote slip ups. So, like I said, there's social situations, there's cravings, there's convenience, right? So I take back what I said. I'm openly enough to say that I take that back in the 5 minutes of conversation that we've been having so far, because sometimes when I talk out loud, I realize what I'm actually saying, and I kind of have this shift in my brain where it clicks and I see things a little bit differently. And so we will call it slip ups. I'm going back and forth here on this podcast, but again, I come in here and I talk to you openly and honestly. And a lot of times I don't have exactly what I'm going to say. I have my notes on what I want to talk about, but I'm pretty much just having a conversation with you. And so you will hear me go back and forth. And I think that's all part of learning. That's part of the process, right? We have to remind ourselves that even if we have a slip up, even if we do it purposefully or by accident, we have to remind ourselves not to beat ourselves up. It's part of the journey. And I know that it may be hard and you might give yourself the grief. And it's good to be a little hard on yourself, because we have to remind ourselves, what is our why? Why are we choosing to eat a certain way? Why are we choosing to be sober, right? We got to remember those whys. And so we have to focus on the progress and not the perfection, because no one is perfect. Not you, not me, not the professionals out there who think they are. No one is perfect, and you are allowed to fall and remind yourself that you need to get back up. That is the key. There are so many people who fall and they're like, I slipped up. I screwed up my whole diet. I had a cake and I had a burger and I'm done. It didn't work. That's not how it works. We all screw up sometimes. We all cave to our cravings. I sometimes want chocolate, and I have added a little bit of cacao powder to my yogurt, which for me is healthier than eating a store-bought chocolate pudding that is full of probably seed oils and sugar and all this other stuff. So focus on finding what works for you. Remember that it is progress, not perfection. Now, I wanted to give you a few tips on how to jump back in when you have your quote unquote slip up. So, number one is hydrate, flush out any inflammatory triggers. Make sure that you are drinking plenty of H2O. Number two, get back to the basics. So, you had a slip up. Today's a new day. You woke up and it's a fresh start. Start with, if you're on carnivore, steak and eggs, make it simple for a few days, and then slowly start reintroducing whatever other foods that you eat on your carnivore diet or whatever diet that you're on. And then reflect. Reflect on what led you up to your slip up. Was it stress? Was it social pressure? Was it lack of preparation? Was it just that you wanted a little piece of cake? Maybe you just wanted it. Use these insights to plan ahead on your next situation that you might be in, because life happens and you're going to be locked into situations that are not going to always be easy. I have gone to events where I ate ahead of time because I knew that more than likely they were not going to have anything that I can eat. And sure enough, they did not. Everything was fried or chips or full of sauces. And I drank water while I was there. Was I looking at the food like, oh my gosh, it looks delicious? Yeah, it was. But I knew that that was going to be a setback that I didn't want. And so my why was stronger than having something that I knew was not going to make me feel good. Now, you can avoid the all or nothing trap. So, one off plan meal doesn't undo all your progress. However, I personally don't think that you should have a cheat meal or a cheat day all the time, because there are a lot of people who do have addictions. And so going into that one-off meal plan sometimes takes you to the second off meal plan, to the third, to the fourth, to the fifth, and then all the next thing you know, you've gained 10 pounds back, or you've gained your inflammation back and your anxiety, and you feel like shit. And now you're really down on yourself. So I personally think that this avoid all or nothing is not for everybody. I think that you need to know you. You need to know your personality. You need to know if you are the type of person that can have a little snack and be good with that and continue to eat the way that makes you feel good the rest of the time. This is an individual case by case situational thing that you need to figure out for you. And just know that you are doing your best. And if you know for sure that you're doing your best, then give yourself a hug, applaud yourself. Remind yourself of how great you're doing. Remind yourself of how good you feel. Remind yourself of your why. That's always my go-to, my important thing, because your why is going to be your biggest cheerleader. Your why is going to make you to continue to do what you're doing. I have a social event coming up. We're going to have a friend's Thanksgiving, and we're going to have drinks and appetizers. And I know that most of the food is probably not going to be something I can eat. I personally am going to probably take a charcuterie board that I know that I can have. And I haven't decided if I want to have a drink or not. I don't normally drink. This has just been a personal choice for me after having my babies. After having each one, it's kind of gotten worse, where I just kind of don't feel good most of the time when I drink. And so it's just not worth it for me. I was having this conversation with my husband the other day. I'm like, when I'm in a social setting and we're all hanging out, it is kind of nice to have a drink. It's not that I have to, I just enjoy it. But there have been so many times that I've been at social gatherings lately that I don't have a drink, and I'm actually totally fine with it. I think that it's very mental, because if you are used to every time you hang out with your friends or family and you have a drink, that becomes a habit. And sometimes those habits are hard to break. But again, remind yourself of your why, remind yourself how you feel. Is it worth it? So those are the things that you have to take into consideration. And Slip-ups don't define your journey. They really don't. They're just part of it. And that's how we grow. There are so many times in my life where I felt that I was moving on up and then I was pushed back down. And I didn't let that stop me. I got right back up and I kept going. You have to be kind to yourself, learn from your experiences, and keep moving forward. Have you ever slipped up on carnivore? I would love to know. Leave those in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. Where are you? What has happened? Let's chat. Leave that in the comments. And if you want to DM me privately, you can head over to my Instagram or over on Nostr. I have all that information in the description below. So go check that out. And I hope to see you again tomorrow.